Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because we are looking at a truly fascinating slate of updates. We're calling this Explainer our Rapid Roundup, and we're going to be covering 5 distinct, absolutely crucial developments that are shaping India's trajectory right this very second. From massive economic boosts to deep-sea defense and even high-altitude climate tracking, we have got a ton of ground to cover. But don't worry, we are going to make it incredibly easy to digest. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with how we're boosting formal sector jobs, then we'll check out India's new leadership role in the FATF, the ongoing expansion of the naval fleet, tracking Himalayan climate data, and finally women's safety at the panchayat level. So 5 pillars, 5 really clear takeaways. Let's get to it. All right, kicking things off with pillar number 1, boosting formal sector jobs specifically through the Pradhan Mantri Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana. 2,400 crore rupees. The Prime Minister just recently released this massive disbursement to actively kickstart the PMVBRY program. And when a government moves a number this incredibly large, it signals a very real tangible commitment to fixing a core economic vulnerability. For a rapidly developing economy, moving the workforce away from the informal, gig, or daily wage economy and getting them into structured, documented employment, well, that's essentially the holy grail of sustainable growth. It expands the tax base and it stabilizes the middle class. But you might be wondering, what's the actual mechanism here? Well, the strategy behind that funding is highly targeted, and this brilliantly illustrates how the scheme actually works. It isn't just about handing out cash for any random job creation. It strictly rewards creating jobs in the formal sector. So employers are directly incentivized to promote enrollment in the Employees Provident Fund Organization, or the EPFO. By tying job creation right to EPFO enrollment, the scheme structurally guarantees that these new workers are instantly blanketed with Social Security coverage, and that includes pensions and insurance. It literally transforms a vulnerable daily earner into a financially secure employee. It's a real game changer. So, while we are clearly focusing internally on jobs, India is also stepping up in a huge way internationally, and that brings us to our second pillar, leading the FATF and global financial security. To honor the quiz-style format of our source material today, I want to pose a really quick question to you. Who is stepping up to lead the FATF as its vice president for the upcoming 2026 to 2027 term? Just take a second and think about it. Okay, time's up. The answer is Vivek Agarwal. He's a senior Indian bureaucrat currently serving as the Secretary of the Ministry of Culture, and he has been selected for this highly prestigious global role. What is particularly notable here is the geopolitical transition of power. He's going to be directly succeeding Giles Thompson of the United Kingdom. So this really represents a continued, highly visible shift of global regulatory influence moving straight toward the global south. Just for a quick refresher, the FATF stands for the Financial Action Task Force. It's an independent, intergovernmental body, and it has a dual, highly critical purpose: combating money laundering and stopping terrorist financing globally. Now, India actually became a member back in 2010. To put into perspective why this matters so much, consider this. Being placed on the FATF's infamous gray list or blacklist can literally cripple a nation's ability to attract foreign investment or secure international loans. So stepping into the vice presidency, that gives India immense strategic leverage and a really powerful voice in shaping international economic security. Now, connecting global financial security right over to maritime security brings us to Pillar 3, expanding India's naval fleet. And this is all heavily driven by the initiative for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, which means a self-reliant India in defense. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer strategic diversity of India's recent naval expansion. The Navy just commissioned 3 indigenously built platforms over in Kolkata, and each one has a highly distinct tactical purpose, covering a totally different spectrum of maritime dominance. First up, you have the INS Dunagiri. This is a Project 17A stealth frigate built at GRSE, designed for high-end power projection and avoiding enemy radar. Pretty cool, right? Then there's the INS Sanshudok. That's a large survey vessel entirely dedicated to hydrographic and oceanographic mapping, essentially mapping the deep sea to ensure safe navigation and strategic submarine routing. Finally, we've got the INS Agra. This is an anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft designed strictly for littoral or nearshore warfare to protect the immediate coastline. It is an absolutely brilliant full-spectrum upgrade to their maritime capabilities. All right, shifting gears from defending borders to protecting our shared environment, let's introduce our 4th pillar, tracking Himalayan climate data through the Bharat Climate Observation Network, or BCON. To achieve this massive undertaking, we're seeing a really fascinating collaboration between two highly specialized scientific bodies. The Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, or IITM, has signed a long-term memorandum of understanding with the Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Sciences, also known as ARIES, which is located up in Nainital. Together, they are establishing a crucial climate observation station right in the Himalayan region. And here is a pretty surprising fact for you. The Himalayas are often called the third pole. Why? Because they actually contain the largest mass of ice on Earth outside of the polar regions. So monitoring this exact area is essentially taking the pulse of the entire planet's climate health. Now, this Himalayan station is a foundational piece of BCON, the Bara Climate Observation Network. Conceptualized by IITM under the Ministry of Earth Sciences, BCON's whole purpose is to gather long-term, high-precision data across India. You know the old saying, you simply cannot manage what you don't measure? Shifts in Himalayan temperatures directly impact the monsoon season, and that monsoon feeds over 1 billion people. By rolling out BCON, India is ensuring it has the pinpoint accuracy required to secure its agriculture, predict natural disasters, and conduct really critical climate change assessments. Moving seamlessly from environmental data right into social governance, this brings us to our fifth and final pillar, panchayats and women's safety, focusing closely on the nearby Chetna initiative. If we trace the evolution of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj's efforts under the Nirbhaya Fund project, we actually start on March 11, 2026. That's when the broader Nirbhay Raho initiative was officially launched. Then, building directly upon that foundation, just a few months later, from June 17th to the 19th, the ministry organized a highly concentrated 3-day training of trainers program specifically for Nirbhay Chetna in New Delhi. This was done to ensure that expert educators are totally ready to deploy this knowledge systematically all across the country. So the crucial point is how this initiative is actually operationalized on the ground. Nirbhay Chetna isn't just some passive awareness campaign. It is a very active, targeted, 2-step national initiative. Step 1 is engaging male elected representatives in the local panchayats. And Step 2 is heavily sensitizing those specific male leaders on women's safety, dignity, rights, and overall gender equality. Look, panchayats are the absolute bedrock of Indian grassroots democracy. By actively sensitizing men within what have traditionally been patriarchal structures, the government is making a serious attempt to foster fundamental social change exactly where it counts the most. Wow, okay. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, structured across 5 very different but absolutely essential pillars of progress. We looked at formal job creation for the economy, stepping into leadership in global finance, full-spectrum upgrades in defense, high-altitude precision in climate tracking, and local empowerment in governance. So, I want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. Out of these 5 pillars, which of these recent updates do you personally believe will have the biggest long-term impact on India's future? It's a massive, complex puzzle, and I strongly encourage you to keep exploring these topics on your own. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep that curiosity alive.